Hello guys, and welcome back to I Never Knew That. So today we're going to be talking about the history of 3D printers. So 3D printers are relatively new in the world of printing, but before we can get into 3D printers, we have to go back to the printers, just the normal printers that printed text and images that were invented before the 3D printer itself. So in the year 200, woodblock printing was invented, and what this was is it was the first type of printing that existed. And all it was a block of wood that you would carve out to the shape you wanted, whether it was an image or text, and then you would put ink on it and stamp it into either cloth or paper. Later on, in around the year 1040, movable type was invented. So what movable type was each individual block would have its own individual symbol on it, like a letter or a number, and you could arrange them in different orders and stamp that onto paper or fabric. But even though movable type is invented, it takes 400 more years to 1440 before we actually got a printing press. And all the printing press is it wasn't very revolutionary in the world of printing, but it still was a pretty important part. All it was a mechanism that would automatically stamp the movable type onto the paper instead of you just having to pick it up and do it. But that was still a revolution because it was the actual mechanism that did it for you instead of you having to do it yourself. So now you have movable type and printing presses, so you get more accuracy and more speed and more efficiency at printing, but you're still having to do each single page by hand, because every time you've printed as many copies of one page as you want, you have to rearrange all the little type and all the little letters and then put it back on and restamp your next page. So it's still a very time-consuming process, although it's been significantly cut down with movable type. Because before, if you wanted to print a separate page, you have to chisel out a whole new block of wood. Now all you do is just rearrange the letters. So now we're going to skip through a lot of years and a lot more inventions in printing, and we're going to go to 1950. So in 1950, the inkjet printer was invented. So the inkjet printer is a printer that uses a movable nozzle that moves around and it prints different types or different colors of ink on the paper, right? So your paper's rolling through and the nozzle is moving side to side. So this movable nozzle is going to become very important in the history of 3D printing, because 3D printers use a movable nozzle that was pretty much designed off of the inkjet printer. And finally, in 1974, the first concept for a 3D printer was written in an article in a magazine called The New Scientist. However, it took a lot of different concepts and prototypes before a 3D printer was actually made that worked very well. It was made in 1988, and it was the first fused filament printer. So what a fused filament printer is it's the most popular kind that exists today. What it consists of, it is a piece of plastic wire that flows through a moving nozzle. It's heated up and then it's melted and put down in layers. And this printer was first invented in 1988, 14 years after the concept of a 3D printer had been thought of. So to define a 3D printer is any computer-controlled machine that fuses materials together into a three-dimensional object. Whereas on 2D printing, you're just squirting ink onto paper. So it's quite different, but the printers are still very similar because now they both consist of a moving nozzle that's laying down either ink or filament, depending on if it's a regular printer or a 3D printer. So like I said, the FFP, or the fused filament printer, once it was invented in 1988, it quickly became the most popular type of 3D printer available to the public and in professional use. In fact, it comprises 46% of all 3D printers in use, and all the others are very specialized in various designs. But 46% of all 3D printers are FFPs. And the technology to build a 3D printer that just fuses filament and lays it down wouldn't have been possible without the introduction of the inkjet printer, which introduced a movable nozzle. At first, when 3D printers were initially introduced, it was thought they were only capable of printing aesthetic models, and they didn't actually have a valid use in building things. But later on, it was proven that you can actually build very useful things with 3D printers. And now the possibilities for 3D printing has expanded into almost every area. There are 3D printed tools, there are 3D printed parts, and there are also, like I said, aesthetic models, but those are more popular among private printers and not among commercial printers. To give you some examples of what they're being used for, now there are examples of 3D printing body parts in the medical field. Bugatti uses a special type of 3D printer, which is a laser that fuses together metal particles to print brakes for their 300-mile-an-hour supercar, the Bugatti Chiron. Boeing and Airbus use 3D printers to print over 1,000 parts for their airplanes, which are 25% lighter and 5% stronger than the ordinary counterparts. And they've also been used to make more durable and cheap glasses frames. So 3D printing has definitely changed the way parts are manufactured, prototypes are made, and the ease of changing prototypes. So definitely changed manufacturing and fabricating things for a long time. And now, with the technology of 3D printing's advancing by far since they were first invented, it's now available to the general public to go out and get a very good 3D printer for less than $500. And for example, if you take the novel coronavirus, now there have been many private people that have been 3D printing face shields for the hospital to use. So they definitely have a very valuable aspect to them, which at first that wasn't realized because people said all you can do is 3D print static models that don't do anything. But now it's been proven that you can, and they are quite valuable in many different fields. Alright, well, we're now at the end of the video, and if you've watched my channel, you know that at the end of every video we draw a new topic to study for the week and then to make a video about next week. So let's get our cup of topics and we're going to draw a new one. Here we go. Alright, and our topic is Jules Verne and the Vernians. Okay, so the only thing I know about Jules Verne is that he wrote the science fiction novel 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And I have no idea who the Vernians are. It's gonna be interesting to find out. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're excited for next week's topic, subscribe to my channel, like this video, and I'll see you guys then. Bye.